from? Where you going? What are you drinking tonight? Let's keep them flowing. Where do you come from? Where you going? What are you feeling tonight? And what are you showing? Where do you come from? 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 Where you going? What are you drinking tonight? Let's keep them flowing.
As I improve by 2/10, you've already improved another 10th, putting you like another 10th away from me. It's quite annoying that you keep just doing that little incremental increase.
Yeah, I mean, I honestly feel like it's within me to beat the world record of building speed, or at least sub 30.
Isn't that 27 seconds or something, the world record?
Yeah, I think I have to turn off the haptics, and I have to I think that's the key, is the haptics are slowing me down. But welcome to Super PlayStation Bros. We're live, and we're talking everything PlayStation gaming. This week, we were just getting a little bit of Astrobot speed time trials. And yes, we were talking because Miss Phoenix just beat my Let It Slide time. And I'm good you're happy. Well, like I was saying, I'm not a huge fan of Let It Slide. Honestly, I have 10 attempts on the level. And if I'm not having fun, it's not for me. There's going to be a ton of other time trials. And honestly, if I was at the top of every single one of those boards, one, I would be spending a lot of time. And two, that's just not, I don't want to hold that over everyone. Listen, we can all hold a top leaderboard spot on each of these, all right? And we can all share the ego space, all right? Or else it's just my ego blows up and I go into full competition mode.
I do want to have that ego space all to myself. I'm not gonna lie. I want your time on building speed, and then we've got tomorrow's release as well, which I also want to take. So I'm not gonna lie. I'm feeling the sort of Michael Schumacher, Max Verstappen domination feeling coming through. I want to be top of everything, and no one can get in my way. I will take any means necessary to beat them.
Well, some of us are building a house. So I will be splitting my time. I can't be jumping into Astrobot all too often everywhere. But, and also, you know, it's fun, but it's good to share the podium, or else, you know, you burn all the people you compete with. You don't want to just...
If you're not first, you're the first loser. That's all I'm saying on that one.
Yes, but community has different rules, and you should look into those finer points. But let's talk about what we've been gaming on this week, other than Astrobot time trials. Have you been jumping into anything else, or is that all that's consumed you right now?
Oh no, there is something new on the PlayStation Store. It's currently PS5 exclusive for a day and a bit more. And that is the Monster Hunter Wilds closed beta on PlayStation. So if you're a PlayStation Plus Premium subscriber, you can get into the Monster Hunter Wilds beta and have a play of the game that we're going to be getting in February. I've been playing that the last couple of days, and I've been having an absolute whale of a time. I love the Monster Hunter series, as we've spoken about multiple times on this podcast. Played it a lot with Wibble, who tends to appear in chat. Played it a lot with a couple of others who don't appear here, and would love to play it with a bunch more people. It's a phenomenal game. The fact that this particular title, even in its beta format, is running at 4K 60 frames per second and full HDR on my base PlayStation 5 spells huge success in my eyes. I know there's some people out there having a much rougher time of it, where their frames are swinging quite wildly. I don't know whether they're trying to push even further frames, whether they're going for that 120 on a HDMI 2.1 TV. But for me, there's enough new things in there to make it feel fresh. There's enough familiarity to it to make it feel like coming home, and the story's quite interesting. And for the first time, at least in my memory, your character speaks, which is great. So I've been having a great time on that. I've also still been playing Pal World. I've defeated a couple of the Sakurajima Island bosses now, which is sort of like the next stage of things that I've been doing. I still need to defeat Necromus and Palladius, but as time goes, I'm just enjoying myself. I've got the oil on Sakurajima like you did last week, so just building that base out. And then, of course, the time trials on Astrobot. I did a live stream of that last Friday, trying to beat your times via remote play, which really didn't help anything. But some of it did feel better because there weren't the resistive triggers, which helps quite a lot. And then I've just been dipping in now and then, a session here, a session there for 5-10 minutes. And at the moment, I'm topping Let It Slide, and I'm second only to yourself on building speed. But what about yourself, man? Other than building a house, what have you been up to?
Well, I will say this about time trials, and I haven't been on since. There was an incident where I had set the record for building speed, went to go check my leaderboard, and the game glitched, set me back to my old time, and just erased the time that I had just gotten. And as you do time trials and speed runs, that upset me beyond belief. And since then, I haven't turned it back on. I hope they address it. They did, however, Dorgon showed me a screenshot where my time was recorded at a later date, and I went to go check my media gallery. It did not record my speed run. So there's a little bit of something fishy that happened. I'm a little bit upset about it, and I hope they do address it, because when it comes to speed trials and time trials, when you're competing with people on a leaderboard, you should have it as glitch free as possible. And especially with a game with like Astrobot, where I held it to like every other game, I get it. You have glitches. Astrobot, no glitches. Perfection of gaming. But to have that, it tainted it a little bit, and I'm a little hurt, and it'll take a little bit of time to get back, but having my scores updated at a later time did help the pain. So I was happy to see that. Other than that, Call of Duty Black Ops 6 came out. I've got a big group of friends from back in the high school days who love to get into that, so I've been doing that. And I actually completed the very first Easter egg on the first zombies level, completed the final boss, did all the steps with a random team. It was just absolutely wild. Big shout out to Black Ops 6 Zombies. To me, that is the one mode that is right. I tried the campaign. That was my reaction. A big yawn. My gosh, I didn't think they could make CIA Black Ops operative that boring, but I've literally signed off of the campaign. I didn't even know who I was, what I was doing, or why I was doing what I was doing. And I'm on mission 5, and I didn't even know what I looked like. I was like, what is my name? What am I doing here? And it played nothing like the Black Ops I remember. So I'm off of that. Zombies full head, and playing some PvP with friends when I can. But yeah, other than that, just building a house, having fun. And Power World, I have completed all the world bosses, and if you try to breed Palladius and Necromancy guy together, they just make a Firebird, the Suzuki. So I had to go and catch them again to go make sure that I bred the two of the same guys together. And now I'm breeding out the dragon psychic one, the Necro guy.
So what you're telling me is I have to do the thing that I have failed to do multiple times so far, twice.
Yeah, to breed them.
Well, now. It's all right. I've got a Yormintide with like Lord of the Sea and Divine Dragon and Legend upon it. Like I can breed these things quite well, I think.
Yeah, Legend's a good perk for sure. I'm enjoying it. I've got 2 more towers to beat. It's just about stockpiling all the ammo to be able to do that. But a lot of fun. I'll be closing it out sometime soon. Well, let's get into the news we got this week. We got a ton of stuff hitting us. There is, after a tough few months, Sony says it'll be making PS5 live service games. Yes, if you thought it was going to stop with Concord, you were wrong. Despite recent setbacks with live service titles like Concord, Sony remains committed to developing games for this genre. It is learning from its mistakes, though. Sony acknowledges the challenge and its focus on learning from past mistakes to improve the future of live service offerings, which I hope it does, because I feel like Concord was put for a financial model that was not right for the state of market we're in today. And Sony is doing something that is also a key thing, which I think is going to help for survival. They're putting an emphasis on first-party focus, and I think that will leverage their strengths and appeal to a broader audience. Oh, it's scary, but what are your thoughts on live service games still coming out for PS5, still trying to hit that genre?
I think if you just naturally come up with a concept that could be live service, so something like Fair Games, for example, that to me looks like it could be live service. It's got that Payday feel to it, but I don't know, it's going to be PlayStation 5 centric. So you're going to have your haptics, you're going to have your resistive triggers, you're going to have some bells and whistles on that other platforms just don't have at the moment, sort of thing. And Payday has always felt like it should be one of those games that just gets updated. I played the original Payday on PlayStation 3. I then played Payday 2 when that came to PlayStation Plus. And Payday 3 just felt like going through the ringer, doing it all again. And most people ended up returning to Payday 2 because it was a more complete title. As long as things from a concept phase are built to be this online, ever-evolving experience, and even if there is an end goal, it's a 5-year live service, or it's a 10-year live service like the first saga in Destiny. Even if you just give people an end goal and say, like, this is how long you need to play this game for, some people are going to be very, very happy with that up front. And then as long as the gameplay is good, as long as the rewards are worthwhile grinding for, as long as there is something in that title that gives the player joy and a feeling of satisfaction, there is no problem with going after a living game. The problem comes when you are trying to force live service upon things. Concord could have been a great arena shooter without being live service in the traditional sense. They could have always brought updates to it, they could have brought new maps, they could have done other stuff, but it didn't need to be marketed as this live service. It needed marketing full stop, but it didn't need to be marketed as this live service game. There doesn't need to be 15 live services in development within PlayStation Studios. If that's coming at the detriment of what made PlayStation and PlayStation Studios popular, which is the single player narrative driven experience, they shouldn't exist. And I'm very much in 2 minds. If they're coming with a concept, Fair Games feels like the right concept for a live service type existence. Marathon feels like the right concept for a live service type existence. But beyond those, give us what we came here for. Give us what we bought into the ecosystem for. And we're not hearing talk about those. We've seen win, failure, win, failure, win, failure all year from Sony. And all they're talking about is doubling down on the failures. They're not doubling down on the victories, which is a very weird situation as a fan to find yourself in. So I don't know. I don't know where we stand with it. I don't know how I truly feel about it, but it's one of those, if it's the right concept and the gameplay and rewards and satisfaction are good, live service works. But it needs to be a natural progression, not a forced make a live service game decision from executives, I feel.
So I wanted to do this for a little bit of fun as we close out this one. Here are 10 things you can buy for $400 million. Okay. Number 1, a super yacht. They could have gotten a Sony private jet, a luxury mansion in Beverly Hills or Manhattan, a rare piece of art, or a sports team. New York Yankees or Dallas Cowboys. They could have gotten the Sony Dallas Cowboys. Skyscraper. They could have bought a skyscraper for the cost of Concord. A private island. They could have hosted Concord in real life on a private island.
That sounds like Squid Games, bro.
Yeah, they could have hosted Squid Games. A movie production like Venom Save the Last Dance, which I hear is not performing well. A startup acquisition, and you know what's sad? I asked Gemini to list 10 things, and the last thing it listed was a charitable donation. That should have been first. God, what kind of human first is this? It says super yacht on the first of 10 and charitable donation on the last one. Anyways.
You asked an artificial intelligence machine from a super corporation that literally destroys people's lives for profit what you can get for 400 million, and you expected a charitable donation to be first?
I would
Just
host
saying,
a battle royale on a private island. Listen, we're gonna fly a bus over it, and everyone jumps out, and you got one life.
Can I make a suggestion?
Yeah.
You fly a shipping container over it to avoid Epic's copyright.
Oh,
because
yeah.
they'll go the same way as Nintendo.
Yeah. Bus flying patents. Well, let's go into the natural next topic, which is the devastating news about Firewalk Studios as well as Neon Koi. There are studios shutting down. Unfortunately, Concord failed. Firewalk Studios' multiplayer shooter Concord was shut down roughly 2 weeks after its troubled launch. Sony Interactive Entertainment has decided to close Firewalk Studios following the failure of Concord. While the official statement mentions exploring other options before closure, no specific reasons were given beyond the game's poor performance. And that is a terrible state to be in. I felt like the game did not have enough time on the market. They pulled the plug incredibly fast. They didn't give it enough support from the beginning. I honestly feel like I'm putting on my conspiracy hat and saying none of this adds up. Something happened behind the scenes and somebody got rich. But that's my take on it. And Dorgun, why don't you let me know what's up with Firewalk?
I'm kind of surprised at the sort of totalitarian approach to it that Sony and PlayStation have taken. Just the straight up shutting down of 2 studios and letting go of all of the staff. Firewalk has got a lot of very good developers working for them. These are ex-Call of Duty, ex-Destiny, ex-Halo, ex-Battlefield developers. If they want a live service first-person shooter of any description, they are the sort of talent that you don't want to be letting go. I kind of understand the shutting down of the studio itself from a purely business and monetary perspective. If I, for example, sank £4,000 into a project and only 6 people picked that up, there's no way I'm making my money back from those 6 people ever. And that's sort of the equivalent of what you're getting with the 400 million and 600 players and 25,000 sales. It's such a small number that they've sort of got to cut the cord. They could pump more money into Concord, they could waste even more funds on it. But then, is it ever going to recover from the situation it's found itself in? And I don't think it would. The narrative has been written about Concord for a long time. A lot of these go woke, go broke morons on the internet decided to tell people about this game rather than Sony telling them about it. And so people had a very negative impression of it before getting to it. There's also the case that people didn't like the aesthetics, so trying to play with something that's aesthetically displeasing to you is kind of shocking. It's not easy to do. But it played well, it played incredibly, and I'm kind of shocked that they let this talent go rather than either saying build this instead, make a new game that is just an arena shooter, or something like, say, Titanfall 2. People have been screaming for a Titanfall 3. Give us a spiritual successor. You've got the skills within the studio there. Do something with those skills rather than just letting them all go. But they're all out the door. They've not been reassigned. They've not been given opportunities to go to other PlayStation studios or anything like that we've seen with other cuts and other reorganizations that we've seen through the course of the year. So I'm very shocked that that's happened, especially with this whole drive of we still want live service games and a first-person shooter live service game. Kind of shocking a little bit. But the one that really shocked me was the mobile developer. They've been working on a game for 3 years at this point, and they've just sort of out of nowhere shut them down. They were meant to be working on a big action adventure game that was mobile first, mobile only. It was a PlayStation Studios experience for mobile. It was probably going to end up something like Genshin Impact, where you get the mobile release, but you also get the console release. And you can have cross-play and so on and so forth. And it's like, again, they want to expand. They want people playing in different places. They want all of these different screens turned into PlayStations. And they are taking all of the actions that go counter to the words that they are saying by shutting these companies down and getting rid of the talent that can give them exactly what they're asking for. The totality of the shutdown for both studios has shocked me, and it's another 200 people now in the video game industry without jobs, which is just at 14,000 plus already in 2024, a shocking additional development.
Yeah. It's unfortunate, and the mobile studio, like you said, a bit of a left field shot, and a little bit sad that their game never got to see the light of day. Well, they did have a closing statement. If you go over to their X page, which sounds weird to say, Firewalk is signing off one last time. And you can read their statement as it goes into detail. They took some risks, and it was sad to see that they didn't hit the market, and maybe acquisition ended up hurting them in the end. Maybe you shouldn't sell your company. Maybe they should have gone a different route. Maybe coulda, woulda, shoulda. Now we are where we are, and Firewalk takes a walk along the sun. But that's how it goes in business.
Hindsight's wonderful. Hindsight is wonderful, and if the reports that we've heard are true, where they were over 200 million, maybe nearer 300 million into development by the time Sony came along, maybe it was just mismanagement from the start. Maybe they were slow to develop. I don't know what the reasons are. I really enjoyed Concord. I loved Concord. I was going to buy Concord the day it was taken off sale. That is what was happening in my particular world. But if they were already that far down the drain, monetary wise, if somebody comes along and offers you another 100 million to be bought out and finish development of this title, you're going to snap their arm off, aren't you? Because otherwise you're not crossing that finish line, and the studio's going to close anyhow. But I don't know. I don't know. It's I
When did
wish the
Twitter start
studio was.
offering jobs? What is going on at Twitter? My God.
Why are you even on it? Just sack it off, man. Like, I got rid of it
Because it
months
was the
ago, and my
link.
mental health has been so much better.
It's the link to see this, to see their goodbye statement. That's why I have it up. I don't really
Oh dear.
post on there all too often, but
Well, there's 200
anyways.
people looking for jobs. They've got developmental experience. I doubt they'd want to work for someone like Musk, but you never know if needs must, and you're that hard up. And let's be honest, like if this was in European Union, these guys wouldn't have just been fired immediately. They'd have been given big severance packages. They'd have been given benefits and bonuses and all this sort of stuff. But because it's a US-based firm, they are literally jobless today when they weren't yesterday, and that's shocking.
I agree with Phoenix. Sunsetting is a terrible word to use for being fired. It's not cool. Not cool. Don't butter up the language when it's people's well-beings. But let's get into the next one. One of Horizon Zero Dawn's remastered biggest glow-ups. That's right. Alloy went in to get some work done, and she's looking fine. You go, girl. All right. A lighting malfunction in the original Horizon for Zero Dawn caused an unintended glow effect, making some scenes appear too bright. That happens a lot, to be often. Maybe they should take a look at that. This went unnoticed by developers due to the game's vast open world, but now they've pinpointed it and they've corrected it. There was a malfunction discovered by a fan on Twitter who compared the original game to the remastered game, and they are fixing more and more bugs. Guerrilla acknowledges that this issue is resulting in a more balanced and visually appealing light experiencing. And lighting experiences is honestly what takes it to the next level. That's why I understand why they wanted to go with the PSSR. Lighting really changes things and brings out the graphics, the textures, the corners, the curves. So it is really worth it to go in there and redo all this. And I'm getting a phone call. 1 second.
I will pick up then whilst you're getting that phone call. I 100% agree with this. I never thought that Horizon Zero Dawn looked bad. I never thought the lighting was terrible. I thought their HDR implementation, especially in the early days of high dynamic range, was one of the best because it went across the entire color space. It wasn't just highlights and lowlights. It was every color was involved with the HDR, which is, for me personally, an absolutely massive thing. The upgrade, however, has convinced me that this is a lot more work than the $10, £10 that we're actually going to be paying for it. It looks incredible. It looks better, I think, in some circumstances than Forbidden West did. And the biggest one for me is, as you say, that lighting, so where things aren't just randomly glowing at you. I do remember a couple of scenes watching my partner play the game where she was trying to jump over rocks and they were just completely luminescent and just giving off their own light, glowing in their own way. But it's things like the facial animations, the conversational flows, and all of these other things that have been shown off since that first announcement that disappointed a lot of people, which is slowly and surely brought the hype levels up. There's so much more work than £10 or $10 that has gone into this game, and to get it for that price and this level of increase, and I'm talking from a console player perspective. I don't have a PC. I can't talk from that PC perspective and all of the crazy stuff that they do with mods and what have you. And I don't particularly care about them moaning about PlayStation Network either. Get over it. You sign into Microsoft for everything. You sign into Bethesda for everything. Epic, Steam, 7,000 other things, BattleEye and so on, to be able to play these games. What's one more login for you? Get over yourselves. But for the console player, just it looks so much better. It looks like a current gen release in every positive manner. And I think it's going to be a well worthwhile upgrade for me personally. I know it's not going to be for everybody. And if you don't take it, the original game is still absolutely fantastic. But you know, not having rocks that randomly glow at you is quite a nice thing.
Absolutely. There are slight differences, slight changes. Would I like to have seen a Bloodborne remaster instead? Yeah, for sure. But they're doing what they're doing. Obviously, Zero Dawn hitting over 24 million in sales is going to bring them a lot of cash back when it comes to remastering. People are going to want to play this on the Pro and really get that next step up. So, hey. I think it's a good move. Obviously, the numbers agree with them, and that's why they're doing it. And they definitely need some easy wins like this after Concord. So expect this not to stop. And this is because they tried something new. We're always telling people to try new things, experiment, take risks. Well, they did that. The market didn't like it, and now we're going to get some remasters to make up for the budget on the other hand. So risks come with some downfall. But in the end, gamers are still winning here. If you love the game, you want to get back into it, this is going to be an excellent way to play it.
Yeah, and no plasticine hair would be great as well. Looking forward to it. Hair that actually looks like hair.
Hey, the only reason I got a PS4 back in the day was to play Zero Dawn. So I 100% get it. It is an epic experience. But is it as epic as the nostalgia in the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers? Oh, snap. That's right. The old school arcade remix of the 90s out December 10th. This is a pretty cool one. Inspired by 90s arcade games, the game draws inspiration from classic arcade beat 'em ups and brawlers, offering a nostalgic experience with a modern twist. So this reminds me of what they did with Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and Shredder's Revenge. This is very much along the same lines, except it's Power Rangers. Dorgon, I know you're excited. Rita's Rewind will be available for both PlayStation 5 and PlayStation 4. The release date is set to launch December 10th, so not too far away. Dorgon, will you be getting into this one?
I mean, Phoenix has just brought it up in chat. I've been in Power Rangers. I have been in Power Rangers RPM. I grew up watching Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. I have a love affair with it, despite how terrible the show actually is when you watch it as an adult. But I have this love affair with it and this history with it, and I would feel somewhat like I'm betraying a family if I did not buy into this one. I still speak to a couple of the folks from Power Rangers now. They're incredible people. Love talking to them, and some of them have moved on to incredible roles in their future. But yeah, I've been in Power Rangers. It's kind of one of those unwritten laws that I almost have to, and it's the OGs, which we all have such fond memories of if you grew up watching it. Yeah, I'm in these arcade games, these old school 90s arcade titles. We've got one in Manchester here in the UK called the Arcade Club. It's 3 floors of old arcade machines. It's a single price to get in for the day, and you just play them non-stop. There's Spider-Man ones, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, ones like the originals of what Shredder's Revenge was. There's Street Fighter and all of these other amazing side-scrolling brawler titles. It just reminds me of those. It's so much fun to go and play them. I love visiting the arcade club in Manchester, having something available at home that does very similar in an IP that I've actually been part of. I'm in. I'm in.
And there you have it. Look forward to all the Morphin Power Rangers on December 10th in that old school feel. And honestly, I feel like they did more than Shredder's Revenge. Looking at that preview, you have first person mode, you're riding a bike, jumping over ramps. So I like how they did it, and it seems pretty exciting. I feel like they mixed it up, and it's a good twist on a 90s arcade.
Yeah, very much. It looks pretty good.
Now we have Redacted, launching October 31st, meet some of Black Iron Prison's deadliest foes. So this is talking about a game set in the Black Iron Prison. This is more of a horror theme if you're looking to get into some Halloween goodness. This does launch on Halloween, so tomorrow, October 31st. And it's a top-down sort of shooter. Reminds me of the vein of the old school Helldivers. And each enemy possesses unique powers and behaviors, possessing different challenges to players. And so it's a fun game. It looks like it could be great to get into with some friends, and it's just along that Halloween vein if you're looking for some creepy games to get into.
Yeah, I'm not a creepy game guy, but that's because I get bored by them. They're quite predictable to me, I find. So horror games, horror movies, I don't really get into them. The horror novels, because my mind will go mental, them I can get into, but the rest of them I just find a bit too predictable. But if this is a solid and serviceable top-down shooter, we don't get too many of those at the moment. There's a new roguelike that's available on Steam that I believe it's basically, people are calling it a cross between Hades and Doom. There's a lot more Doom going on in it than the Hades. This gives me those sort of vibes, looking at the art, aesthetics, top-down shooter mechanics. I think it could be quite good, but I would have to see a little bit more of it before I can say yay or nay personally. But there's definitely a market for this sort of thing. There's a lot of people who want that old school but modern, if that makes sense, that they want the nostalgia of the type of game they used to play, but they want it to play like the games that they're used to now. And this seems to be ticking that sort of box. And when you give it a spooky edge as well in spooky season, well, you're onto a bit of a winner, aren't you?
Spooky time. Well, following that same vein of spookiness, it's time to put on the helmet, Dorgon. We're getting into Phasmophobia's PSVR2 launch, and that is more creepy games. And this time, you're even more immersed with the helmet on. The game is optimized for PlayStation VR 2, utilizing features like eye tracking and headset feedback for increased immersion. This includes a redesigned VR interaction system, a tool belt for quick access to ghost hunting equipment, and also features improved visuals with a rendering system that is a word I don't understand. It has already launched on PSVR 2 as of yesterday, so be sure to jump into this one. Phasmophobia is hilarious, scary, simple, and a lot of fun. I've played a little bit before with my siblings on family game night on the flat screen, but I can only imagine how scary it gets being immersed in it as this first person mode gives you. Are you excited for some more? I know you said you're not a scary person game, but this is a little bit different.
The co-op aspect of it would definitely entice me into it. The fact it's PlayStation VR 2 as well, which really shocked me when I discovered this last week personally. I knew it was coming to PlayStation. I knew the console release was coming because it was hitting Xbox at the same time as well. So that was always going to be a good thing. But to actually bring the official virtual reality support to the PlayStation as well is absolutely huge. And the fact it's launching at the same time as the game, whereas it was a later launch on PC, you got your flat screen initially, and then you got your launch later on for the VR as well. I think this is absolutely huge for anybody with a PlayStation VR headset. It's one of those seminal games. It's a game that will come around annually as well. So every October, people are going to want to jump into it. Content creators are going to want to be streaming it and that sort of thing. It's more immersive in a headset. I love that they are doing the eye tracking. There are so many games that don't make use of the infrared eye tracking that the PSVR 2 utilizes. There's so many that do a bad version of the foveated rendering, which is the word I assume you weren't able to say. So it basically means where you're looking is in crystal clear 4K visuals, but the moment you move, that becomes blurry, and where you're looking at with the eye tracking becomes crystal clear. It's an incredible way of lowering the sort of stress on the system, but still keeping the experience inside the headset fantastic. We know Phasmophobia is a great game. Everybody knows that one. The fact it's coming to consoles means millions more people, if they so fancy, can get their hands on it. The fact it's coming to headsets as well for PlayStation means even more can get their hands on it. And if I'm not mistaken, this is fully cross-play as well, so you can play with those from other VR headsets and other PC storefronts, can't you?
Yes, I've played with people on VR headsets before, and I've been on the flat screen, so it is an incredibly cross-play experience. So if you want to play together with some friends, there's not a lot of barriers stopping you, which is great to see.
Yeah, 100%. Love to see it. Might jump into it if other people are there.
Well, let's get into more VR news. We have the Alien Rogue Incursion with a PSVR 2 hands-on report. So that's right, we have 2 PSVR 2 stories this week. It's exciting, it's big, it's huge. That's right, this game aims to deliver a truly immersive, authentic Alien experience, capturing the atmosphere and tension of the franchise. This utilizes the PSVR 2 eye tracking, headset rumble, adaptive triggers to enhance that immersion. Players will use tools like motion trackers and the iconic pulse rifle, and this is set to launch December 19th. So not too far away. Too bad it didn't get it in for Halloween, but right before the holidays, you're going to have some crazy Rogue Incursion to get into.
Yes, the Aliens franchise churns out quite a lot of gaming content. Some of it's phenomenal, some of it's a bit lackluster, for want of a better word. But this has been looking good since it first got announced. The fact that the hands-on is also saying that it's that quintessential Aliens experience. If this gives us what we are expecting, if it gives what it's showing off, it's going to be one of those quintessential VR experiences. And because PlayStation VR 2 is that 4K 120 hertz headset, yes, you're wired in, but that means you can get those higher resolutions. It means you can get those higher frame rates. It also means your tracking is a little bit better, and so on and so forth. I think it's going to be one of those incredible places to play the game. Whilst it will be coming to other headsets, I get the feeling a lot of people are leaning towards PSVR 2 being the best for a lot. I actually went to a VR arcade with my dad the other day for his birthday. I took him for a race around Bathurst, and they were saying they wanted the PlayStation VR 2 rather than like the Pimax Crystals or the HP. Can't remember what they call them, but they want the PSVR 2s because they are the best VR headset on the market. This is an actual professional virtual reality arcade saying they want PSVR 2s across the board because they're the best headset on the market. So games coming to it that take advantage of it, like these two that we've just spoken about, bring it on.
Oh, I want a VR headset. And oh, it would look so good on the PS Pro because then you get that AI upscaling. I'm sure the lighting's going to be better. Your PlayStation's going to run quieter. Oh, they need to talk more about how the PS Pro is going to enhance your VR experience. They really need to marry those two. But definitely one to check out as it hits December 19th. That's Alien Rogue Incursion. Now, a game that I know Dorgon is much more familiar with than I am, and that is Monster Hunter's Wild. They've opened a beta test this week on PS5, so if you want to jump into it, now is the time. This includes character creation, a story trial featuring the new Oliwell Bassin locale, and a challenging Doshugama, an alpha hunt. The beta rewards people for participating. You receive a pendant and an item pack for the full game, allowing them to decorate their weapons and something else that I have no idea what that word is. Secret? Secret? It's like secret, but it's spelled different. The open beta starts this week, and the full release of Monster Hunter Wild is scheduled for the end of February in 2025 on PlayStation 5. So, Doragon, you are a Monster Hunter veteran. Do you want to get into your thoughts on this open beta?
Yes, because I have been playing it. There's actually a video on my YouTube channel of my initial playtime going through the story content that's in the beta. I'm loving it. It's so good. That secret that you're on about is the mount that you ride around in Monster Hunter Wilds. You get that in the beta. As of tomorrow, so the 31st of October 2024, other platforms can join the beta as well. So Xbox will be able to jump in, PC will be able to jump in, and it is cross-play as well. So no matter what platform you are playing on, this is the first Monster Hunter where you'll be able to play with anybody else. So I know tomorrow on the 31st, evening time UK, Wibblesniff and I are going to be jumping in and playing some Monster Hunter Wilds. Anybody else who's around who has me on their friends list, they're welcome to jump in and have a play as well. It is fun. It's got a few new mechanics in it that we haven't had in previous Monster Hunter titles. So rather than just pressing your attack buttons and your character automatically attacks, you now have to hold the R2 button down and aim your attack, which I actually do quite like. So you aim your attack to make sure that you're hitting the correct area of the monster, which if you're trying to cut off certain aspects of them to make new armor is a huge bonus and benefit. You can get these areas into what's known as a wound status in Wilds. They'll start glowing red, essentially. If you then hit those red areas further, it'll do increased damage, like powerful critical damage, essentially. And it's just working well. It's working at a full 4K resolution with full HDR implementation and 60 frames per second on my launch model PS5. I got this PS5 launch day, and it's playing it flawlessly. I don't have a TV that can do higher frame rates, I'm sorry to say, so I don't know if that unlocked frame rate on console is going to give it any better. I might have to stick it through the PSVR 2 to see how it works there. But yeah, my experience so far has been absolutely incredible. The game looks amazing, the game plays amazing. I am so happy with what I've played so far. I'm pretty sure this is going to be a pre-order for February for me, and I have not pre-ordered a game in a long, long time.
You didn't pre-order Spider-Man? Well, that would have been a year ago, I guess.
Yeah,
Did you
it was
pre-order
12 months ago. That's the last thing
Yeah.
I suppose I pre-ordered Astrobot the day before I got it.
Right.
Does that count?
Yeah. Well, that is a great insight into Monster Hunter Wild. If you want to see more of Doragon's beta playthrough that we're playing right now on the screen, check out his link in the description below. And you can check out his channel and my channel as well. But all of you No Man's Sky enthusiasts, Halloween is not forgotten about in the galaxy of No Man's Sky. That's right, a new expedition, The Cursed, is out, and the expedition features a Halloween themed with a focus on creepy, unsettling atmospheres. Players will experience visions and voices from another dimension. The expedition takes place in a unique Twilight universe with rapid shifts between day and night, adding to an eerie ambiance. Players must work to protect themselves from the weakening boundaries of reality, facing challenges and threats as they explore the altered universe. Yes, and actually, I read more into this. Jumping to your next universe and stuff is all very restricted, so it's more of a on-the-planet experience. I like how they've kind of curated this sort of adventure to take through on Halloween. It's great for No Man's Sky enthusiasts. I myself loved the last expedition, and it would be great and fun to jump into on Halloween.
I take it we're now doing ASMR. That's why you've got all close to the mic and spooky. So I'm going to do the same.
Oh yeah. Oh, maybe I did do that.
The slight whisper for everybody else. So we've got the two ends. We've got the nice booming Rudigs and the nice soft ASMR Doragon here.
It's essentially, I'm going to stop doing that because it feels weird. Halloween event, No Man's Sky, two very, very positive things. You can't go wrong. But I do have to say,
I did delete No Man's Sky from my console the other day.
Oh, that's too bad. It's actually not that big, and it's a VR title.
I know, but I needed space for a bunch of driving games for what I'm currently testing for a video, and it was the only thing that I wasn't currently dipping into on a regular basis. It can easily be downloaded again.
I hear it, I hear it. Okay, let's talk about a rumored game. We heard a little bit about this on Mass Effect Day when they talked about a brand new Mass Effect. So this is more into the new game. This is the second time I've heard anything on this title, so it's good to see, and it gives me more confidence that we're going to see this. So the article talks about the upcoming new Mass Effect game. It'll maintain a mature tone and themes that define the original trilogy. So that is great to hear. Also, photorealistic visuals. So this will definitely be 30 FPS on consoles with photorealistic visuals. And it is confirmed by the project director, Michael Gamble, that these details are all true, reassuring fans the next Mass Effect will stay true to the franchise's core identity and will wipe Andromeda off of the face of gaming history and will only reference the first trilogy of games.
There are certain series that get to a point where maybe you should just let them end. The original 3 Mass Effect games were as near as you can get to perfection in something that gives you such freedom of choice. You carried your character, your version of Commander Shepard, from the beginning of the very first game all the way through to, big spoilers for a 15-year-old game here, by the way, his death at the end of the third game, until everybody kicked up a bit of a fuss and they had to release a different ending. I liked Mass Effect. It wasn't the most seminal or greatest thing ever made, in my own personal opinion. I just enjoyed it. It was a good, fun game. Andromeda was terrible. Andromeda was legitimately awful. It was buggy, it was glitchy, it didn't have any of that BioWare magic that the previous games had had. It didn't have any of the RPG sort of depth and nuance that previous games had. It was a distinct step back from the Mass Effect trilogy. The problem you face with this, or the problem I personally face with this, is BioWare haven't had a win in many, many years. Subsequent to Andromeda, which was a catastrophic failure, they then released Anthem, which was a catastrophic failure. Subsequent to Anthem, they've released Dragon Age Veilguard, or are releasing Dragon Age Veilguard, which is coming in quite marmitey. Some people absolutely love and adore it. Some people, older fans of the original series, absolutely hate it. It doesn't have that BioWare flair that they are used to that made the series great. I'm sort of getting that feeling that at a best case scenario, Mass Effect's going to fill that same sort of space, a bit marmitey. People either love it or hate it, and there will be no in between sort of thing. I want Mass Effect to be good. I think if they get it right, it will be seminal once again and one of the cornerstones of the industry. But if they get it wrong, there is a distinct possibility we could be seeing the end of BioWare, and that is a terrifying statement to make.
Where did they go? BioWare!
Oh god. What? You're not even a dad. Why are you coming out with the dad jokes?
Well, let's hope the best for Mass Effect in their new journey. But this one is an interesting article. So I like that this one was put into the pipeline here. We're talking about Black Ops 6 and physical sales. So, physical sales for PlayStation 5 in the UK for Black Ops 6. I'm sure everyone's wondering if the Game Pass experiment was a success or a failure. Well, what's happening here is actually PS5 and PS4 physical sales of Black Ops 6 are the same as last year. There is no change in terms of dropping or it is steady. And so nobody from PlayStation 5 who were buying physical, digital data is to come, did the switch over. And now when we look over to Xbox and their physical sales of games for Call of Duty, guess what dropped 10% in terms of physical sales? Call of Duty on Xbox, 10% drop. So is this experiment going to be a success? Will it be a failure? Time will tell. On the physical side, it doesn't look great. And not only that, PlayStation still dominates the sales of Black Ops 6 with the physical edition. A whopping 88%. 88%. My goodness. Like it's insane to see. Physical sales really are telling, and this experiment hasn't really moved the needle, and if anything, it's just lowered physical sales of the game on Xbox. Doragon, I'm sure you're brimming at the teeth to talk about this one, but let's see what your thoughts are on Black Ops 6, now a Microsoft Studio game.
I still don't like Call of Duty. I've not liked Call of Duty since the original Modern Warfare 2. That was the last one I played and enjoyed, and everything after that was copy-paste. It still feels very copy-paste now. I think this is great news for the industry, however. You and I were having a very tongue-in-cheek argument in the Discord last week about what's better, physical or digital sales. And whilst you're turning around and trying to quote figures of, 90% of all revenue is from digital, that's with things like microtransactions and mobile titles and such. When it comes to the actual AAA game industry, over 43% of all sales for new games released in a year are still physical. There is a massive physical industry still. And as we're seeing, most of that's coming from the PlayStation and Switch side. There is a want for it, a need for it. There are certain regions in this world that PlayStation Network doesn't exist, but PlayStation does. So the only way you're going to get and play some of these games is via the physical option. There are people who don't have the ability to buy digital games because they are just so expensive. Digital was meant to lower the price of games because there was none of these printing costs and none of these manufacturing costs. But the digital games are often, especially here in the UK, more expensive than the physical version. I bought Astrobot physically because it was £10 cheaper than buying it on the PlayStation Store. Digital's not going to take over the video game console space anytime soon. If anything, you're looking at a fairly even split right now for the actual game sales themselves. What you have to ask is whether these subscription services, especially one like Game Pass, where it's throwing games out there on launch day for a much cheaper price per month than buying these games. If you play 4 games in a year, you've sort of made your money back on, you're starting to be in profit on Game Pass for new releases at $70 each. And it's obviously having an impact over on the Xbox side, which means they're 10% worse off than they were last year financially. But they're kind of counting on the in-game microtransactions because, as you said, 90% of revenue is from digital sales of in-game stuff and what have you. It's a very interesting situation. My argument is you can't get people to spend in-game if they don't have the game in hand, and if you've got an exponentially large portion of the world that needs the physical option because you don't have the digital options in those regions, you're not then going to make the sales thereafter if they're not getting through the front door. So I'm glad to see it. I don't want physical to go anywhere. It removes a lot of consumer rights, especially here in the UK and Europe. We've got a lot of rights based around physical media, but basically zero around digital media. And from a price point as well, it keeps things a lot cheaper for people because there's then the second-hand market. You can pick up Little Big Planet 3 still second-hand for about £3 on places like eBay. So, yeah, I'm glad to see it. I think it's very good for the industry. Doesn't change my mind on the game. I still think it's going to be terrible. But hey, outside of that, big positive.
Big positive, yes. Awesome conversation in the chat. I do appreciate everyone contributing. Fantastic to see. But yes, I do agree with Faded Blaze. I am a huge advocate for the digital space. My friend Dorgon here, he is a physical only guy, still getting the discs, still putting them in the machine, still cleaning them, make sure they don't fade away. I myself, digital all the way. I get that that's the place where we are going to be moving forward, but right now we're talking about physical data because this is the information we have in front of us, and it's a good way to gleam into the psychology of these gamers and their purchasing habits, even if it is just the physical population right now. Ooh, well,
Yeah.
everybody's favorite PS5 extractor shooter, the most wishlisted game out there. I'm joking. Marathon. It's a marathon, not a sprint, as they're saying. Bungie released a detailed update on the development of Marathon and their upcoming extraction shooter for PS5. The update emphasizes the game's rich lore and immersive atmosphere, highlighting the importance of player choices and emergent gameplay. While no gameplay was shown, bad sign, Bungie confirmed that playtests are planned for 2025, giving players the chance to experience Marathon firsthand. Well, I thought the game was coming out 2025. I hope Marathon is okay. It scares me. I don't know where we're going with this one. I think it's impossible for Bungie to create another Destiny. So, by definition of that, I think Marathon is just going to be less successful than Destiny. But that's my perspective, and I hope that they're not projecting higher numbers than Destiny, because I think that could sink them.
I
But
think after the gutting of Bungie earlier in the year, when Sony, let me try saying one word rather than three simultaneously there. When Sony finally realized that Bungie was being mismanaged, where everybody wanted to stay at Bungie, which was great, but they also wanted to earn more money, so it meant you had a lot of middle and upper management, not a lot of people on the ground doing the actual work. I think once they actually noticed that and started once again putting a proper structure in place, they also took a look at things like Marathon and its release time frame and all that sort of stuff, and started to look at it and move it differently. I do think Marathon will be some form of success, because although we have things like Escape from Tarkov, that is a very PC-based extraction shooter, whereas Marathon is going to be a much more cross-platform extraction shooter. It's going to be able to be played solo, it's going to be able to be played as part of a team, and it's going to have that Bungie flair upon it. There is no other company out there, and anybody who's ever played a Bungie game goes away and comes back to playing a Bungie game. Everybody will tell you no other shooter feels like a Bungie game. They feel the best by far in so many different ways. And I think that is going to be one of its biggest draws in. The gameplay is going to feel great because it is a Bungie shooter. We can't deny that. Am I gutted it's not a Marathon in the vein of the old ones with deep and introspective sci-fi stories? A little bit, yeah. I'm sure there's going to be lore there, but I don't think it's going to be anywhere near as deep as what we got in the original titles. But I do think it's going to have a level of success regardless. There's going to be people who just adore Destiny, so we'll jump over to Marathon because it's the new thing from Bungie. There will be people who've just bought a PlayStation after leaving Xbox and they remember the glory days of Halo, so they'll just jump on board with it. I think it's going to see a lot more success than it probably has a right to straight out of the gate, but then Bungie will do what they do with their live services and improve it over time to suit the player base that they actually have. So yeah, I think Marathon's going to be absolutely fine. It's just a case of when are we actually going to get it? Is it going to be in 2025 as we were originally promised, or are we going to be waiting till 2026 or beyond?
And beyond. Well, like they say, it's not a sprint, it's a marathon. So we'll keep you updated as we hear more on the game. But all throughout next year, playtests are going to be scheduled. We'll be there to check it out. Well, something that I was not there. I have never booted up Roblox before in my life. However, this story shocked me. And I guess it's just the state of the world we live in, and it's really unfortunate, but I wanted to bring this attention in case any listeners have any kids, or want to make sure that parental control is locked down. But Roblox parental protections changing in the wake of what they are calling a pedophile hellscape, which is an insane word to use. Roblox is now introducing stricter parenting controls, including more detailed account access for parents and mandatory parental consent for chat features for users under 13. These changes follow a critical report that labeled Roblox as a pedophile hellscape and accused the company of misleading investors. While controversial, the report has led to positive changes with enhanced safety measures for children on the platform. So, stop doing this to kids, please. That's my takeaway.
There's a lot to be said on this one. My first thought was, why on earth were parental controls like this not in place on Roblox initially? Like, why has it taken them, what is it, 8-10 years on the market, and a report like this to come out before they actually take any action to protect their highest user base? Like, seriously, guys, you've got a duty of care when you're dealing with kids, and you failed miserably, according to this report. Secondly, I have to ask the question of, what parent doesn't already have parental controls on their children's consoles or computers, or has open conversations with them about what they're doing, what they're interacting with, and a safe space for them to come and report something to their parents if it goes this sort of direction? There's many questions to come from this that maybe I'm too smart to have fallen prey to or something, or wouldn't let children in my vicinity fall prey to. I've locked down aspects for nieces and nephews, sort of things, to make sure that people can't access them in any nefarious way. But then it's me, the uncle, doing that, not the parents. So there's a lot of people who don't understand about it, and it does fall to the company at the end of the day. If you are creating this platform where people can come together in open chat rooms and such like that, you need to put protections in place for children, especially if you've got people under 13. Like, people under 18 are kids. They are still kids. They're still children. Legally, they are classed as children worldwide. And if you're letting anybody talk to them in any way without any form of protection, you deserve every bit of hate you're getting off the back of this report. This is a deplorable situation, Roblox. This should have been in place years ago. I'm disappointed. Very disappointed.
Well, it's a sad state to be in for a game. Definitely double check if you have a young one using this one. Or be careful of the Roblox. It is a pedophile hellscape, apparently. Crazy. So let's move on to a little bit of an update on one of the awesome games that came out this year, Helldivers 2. Yes, I'm wearing the swag. Silent Dissenters with Helldivers 2 Truth Enforcement Warbond on PlayStation 5 and PC. So it's another Warbond, and honestly, at this point, I'm like 3 or 4 Warbonds behind. It's getting a little aggressive with the Warbonds. It just, in my opinion, I wish that, we saw something more along the lines of different gameplay styles coming to forefront. However, not going to complain all too much. I do enjoy my time with the game each and every week. Play about an hour with a crew at 10 p.m. And it's a blast. I'm always laughing. I'm always having fun. And new guns, new weapons, war bonds releasing, and it looks pretty cool. Not gonna lie, everything they do release does look pretty neat. And the plasma pistol is actually a good shout because it is extremely effective against automatons. Those plasma style weapons. So be sure to check this stuff out. And Truth Enforcers launching right now. I believe you can go out and get it. So very cool. Love to see it. More Helldivers 2 content. Great game. One thing I do want to say about this one before I go is the Dead Sprint booster, which increases movement speed for a short time after killing an enemy. So that one alone seems like a very good upgrade to have, and I liked reading about that one. So it may entice me to skip the other ones and jump to this one just for that upgrade.
You do what you have to in your ASMR Helldivers session.
I just hold the mic up. I don't know why it happens. It just comes out. I'm like, Helldivers. When I get excited, that's when you know I'm holding the mic.
I get it. When you hold the mic closer, it does sound quite a bit better. But at the same time, it's like when you're going and booming at people, it does get a bit much. So I thought I'd balance it out.
My
with a nice little
apologies.
whispered ASMR.
I get carried away. That's what happens.
So anyhow, yeah, moving on.
Helldivers DLC pack is now available on PlayStation 5 and PC. So awesome stuff. That was our show this week. So much news to go over. I hope you got to retain a lot of that. Call of Duties, Concord, Roblox Hellscape, Helldivers, and so much more this episode. We appreciate everyone for coming on out. Dorgon, what do you got coming up on your channel? What's been happening?
I have got a couple of new shorts for people that they can go and watch of my particular speedruns on Astrobot. I also have the Monster Hunter Wilds beta gameplay that you can tune into. It was partially played earlier on. You can watch the whole thing over on my channel.
And then otherwise, I've got a couple of videos coming up. I've had something through the post that I've been testing recently, and I'll give you a quick look at it. There we go. I hope you didn't see too much. I don't want to do too much spoiling, but it's good for all of those driving games that I've downloaded. Otherwise, I've got a few other scripts in the works, but I'm just basically trying to survive, work, life, and everything in between. Everybody in my family's born in November, so I have no free time for the next month. What about you, though, my friend? I'm sure we will see you back for family game night this evening, will we not? After you've torn your house apart and put it back together.
Yeah, we'll see if Family Game Night. Last week, they were into tests and assignments. It's crazy now to think that they're in grade 12. So I will be checking in with them, making sure Family Game Night is still happening. If not, you can catch us on the download later this week. So lots happening on Cloud&Console. And that being said, I have an announcement to make. Yes, this is all my fault. I am moving Super PlayStation Bros. Thank you, Dorgon, for accommodating my schedule. It was actually a comment you made on the last episode, where you're like, why are you doing jiu-jitsu and working out on the same day? And you know what? It clicked. And then I needed to rearrange some things in my schedule so I wasn't absolutely obliterating my body. So we're moving Super PlayStation Bros to Monday morning at the same time, 10 a.m. It is actually our original spot. So we're going to be doing that. And then on Wednesday mornings, I'll probably be getting beaten up at this time. So wish me luck, because I will be fighting and training at 10 a.m. on Wednesdays. But catch Super PlayStation Bros Mondays at 10 a.m. We're back to our original spot. And we will be starting that November 11th. November 11th. So we're taking next week off. I know, you won't get any PlayStation news next week, but just get into the Discord. We're always chatting PlayStation news, stuff that's happening. Link in the description below. Make sure to check it out. And we got Dorgon and Rudig's links as well. So make sure to check those links out, like, subscribe, all that good stuff. We appreciate everyone for coming out, hanging out with us, talking PlayStation today. Absolute riot of a day. So much fun. Hey, and before a week off disgrace. Phoenix, I have to take a week off to beat your times. That's what has to happen now. It's your fault. Listen, life gets complicated, but we appreciate you hanging out with us each and every week, talking PlayStation. And we'll be back. Dorgon, any last words to say before we head off?
I'm at a loss of words for Phoenix saying it's a disgrace that we have to take time off. But, you know, Rudigs needs to go and get his face beaten up and then a bit of plastic surgery to put it back together afterwards. So we've got to give him time to do that one.
Well, I appreciate you accommodating, and I'm going to be pursuing more of my my personal goals. So I'm very happy about that. Plus, it's going to help me professionally. So there's that as well. Other than that, we'll see you on the next one. Appreciate everyone. Again, take care, be kind, and play PlayStation.
See you in the next one, guys. Take care. Bye.
What are you drinking tonight? Let's keep 'em flowing. Where do